Welcome everyone to the Southbridge Board of Health meeting, January 11th, 2024, at 6 o'clock. Roll call.
Dan Grabowski.
Yes.
Gus Steves.
Present.
Jasmine Canones.
Yes, sorry.
Nick Dado.
Yes.
Kevin Spillane.
Present.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, accept the minutes for December 14th, 2023.
Motion. Second.
Jasmine Canones.
Yes.
Are you present there?
I don't think she was.
Excused. Oh,
Abstain. Nick Dado.
Abstain.
Thank you. Gus Steves.
Yep.
Thank you. Dan Grabowski.
Yes.
Kevin Spillane.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Agenda item number 4, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens wishing to come up in front of the Board of Health? Mike, you have to come up if you're coming up.
Go ahead, Mike. Up.
Yep, please come up.
So as I said,
Give us your name, please.
as I was saying, Mike Marchetti, 120 Marie Avenue.
Yep.
So as I was saying to Daniel a couple weeks ago, I think it's time, I think it would be a good idea if the Board of Health and the Health Department start discussing a future transfer station. It's not something that I think, that I'm not suggesting that you vote on it right away, but I do think you should start at least taking a look at it, the pros and cons, the work involved with it. I know it's probably a lot of work to start something like that. I know that after talking to the town manager, we are gonna have to do something with the leaves up there, because as it sits right now, they're on the road. Everybody comes up there, people from out of town even are dumping their leaves there, and they're dumping it for free. So the talk is that we're gonna have to move the leaves onto the property, and we're gonna have to have somebody manning it and collecting some sort of fee for leaf drop-off, because it's not gonna be free anymore. I'm gonna have to dispose of it somehow. And in my own opinion, a leaf drop-off is the same as a transfer station. It may not be a full-blown transfer station, but it is something that is a yard waste and leaves is a type of transfer station that so it's something we need to look at. My own opinion, I think we should start looking at something down the road where we can drop off larger items, like beds and recyclables, and not trash so much, because it's gonna be curbside, but larger items, oil, even have like a swap shed, something like that. But I didn't want us to just sit on this for a long time and do nothing, just because we're having curbside now, and we don't have to worry about it for a while, because as you all know, our own curbside ended in what, 2018, 2007, or 2017-18, the landfill was full, so they ended it, curbside was going to end in 2024, and we waited all that time before we finally put something together last November,
Right.
which was cutting it really close, and we're still right at the end here where I don't even know what the cost is gonna be. I know there's been a lot of talk about what the cost, so it just, I don't think it's a good idea just to sit on it for a long time and do nothing. Just have the board and the health department, and maybe the DPW, start looking at it to see what it's gonna take to have a transfer station. My own suggestion would be at the DPW facility, and maybe other things to talk about, regional. Does it need a site assignment? Does the DPW run it? Does the Board of Health run it? Does the Health Department run it? I know right now, leaf and yard waste is on the Health Department's page of the town's website, so I don't know who runs it, but these are things that should start discussing, because you really don't wanna wait to the last minute.
Right.
Now, I think you might have been on the first curbside with Dave Adams, and you were on the second one, you both were on the second one with me. Dave Adams and I, we went to the Dudley transfer station, and it's run very efficient. They have all the bins set up, you go right down the line, you drop off things, you go on the back, you can drop off larger items. But for right now, at least a leaf drop-off is going to have to be brought in, and something that needs to be discussed, and how are we gonna operate that, who's gonna operate it, how much are we gonna pay, and things like that. There's a lot of things to discuss. And I don't think you should wait till a year from now to start discussing it. You should start discussing it now. So that's all I wanted. I wanted to start the discussion, get it going now.
We'll look into it, Mike, as soon as we can, and I mean, we're not gonna wait no 2, 5, 6, 8, 9 months or a year.
It's like,
You know what I mean?
it's
We'll-
like Steve said, this is like a capital
Right.
item. It's something that needs to be put into some sort of capital request, so.
Or a planning effort, capital planning.
I have, yep.
I remember we talked a while back about potentially putting it into CDBG for funding, maybe 2 years ago, I think it was. Because CDBG will fund that kind of planning effort, if I remember correctly.
Well, according
But that's
to,
something that you can clarify with Peg.
according to the transfer station in Dudley, it almost pays for itself.
It does.
I lived in Dudley for 2 years, so I've been there before. I mean,
If we made it regional,
one
we'd
stop
probably
after
turn a
another.
profit.
Someone watches you, of course, and sit there, but it's easy as the day is long.
Yeah.
And
Sturbridge
also,
just does something like
SDEP provides grants for a type of operation like that. So, all right, that's all I wanted.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens who wish to speak?
Evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Steve Gregoire from 555 Pleasant Street. I'm also the manager of the water department, so for those of you I haven't met, it's good to meet you, and my office is always there. If you need me for any water-related stuff, just call. I had 3 points, 3 things I wanted to bring up tonight. They kind of commingle, and they're all roughly landfill-related. One, and like I said, they all lead into each other. I want to talk about the remaining money in the landfill royalty account. The town right now is definitely looking for money for projects that are unfunded or over budget. And my concern is that they're gonna look towards that landfill pot of money to pay for some of these projects. And I didn't know if this board or body could take some sort of position that could bind that money a little bit to keep it locked into items that are landfill liabilities, contamination, or other things like that to just keep it from being spent on things that have nothing to do with the landfill. I think this board has that authority. I don't know. I'm not a parliamentarian by any means. But I think that's important. It rolls into my second point, and this is the water department hat I'm going to throw on for a minute. But we need to think about further contaminants that come out of that landfill. There's a huge unlined cell in there that's going to leak. We spent a tremendous amount of money through DEP and Casella to bring a water line into Charlton to feed the folks on Berry Corner Road that were showing some contamination. There was a tremendous amount of money spent testing wells over there. There's a design, and I have it here if anybody wanted to see it, I'm glad to unfold it and show you, to continue the water line that runs from Commercial Drive to the airport and then run down to Pleasant Street. There was a proposed tank that was supposed to be up there on Commercial, and it was gonna feed down Pleasant and then turn more of the homes on Pleasant Street onto that part of the water system, because they have bad pressure right now on the part they're on. And it was gonna cure 2 birds with 1 stone sort of a situation. But it would keep the town insulated from liability of contamination. That would be, in my opinion, a good use for that money.
I remember talking about that a few years ago, it never went anywhere.
Yeah, furthermore, the system that's there now is basically a gigantic pump station at Commercial Drive,
Yeah.
pushing into a water main that's effectively a deadhead
Right.
with no users.
Right.
And if you took any kind of science classes, you know you can't compress a liquid. So you've got a pump pushing against a deadhead water main with nowhere for it to go. It was designed to fill an elevated storage tank that would gravity out into the water system that doesn't exist. Right now, you've got a diner using no water, a hangar using practically no water, and the landfill used to use it for dust control. Well, they're obviously closed up.
Right.
So you've got this pump station and a lot of miles of water main with water that's aging and aging and aging. We're flushing, blowing off 30,000 gallons of water a day just to keep the residuals up,
Wow.
because we have a mandate from the state to maintain water residual. Now, some of this is public works items, but this board should hear this as well. I think that money might be well allocated towards doing some of that water main work so that we can have good water for the citizens that are going to see contamination and to improve the water quality to meet state standards without having to blow off water. So it's an investment in the infrastructure,
Right.
but in my opinion, that's what that money should be used for. Not a fire station, not anything else the town is looking for money for.
Makes sense.
So
If I can follow up on
Sure.
that, have you heard anything more about the potential of issues along the McGilpin Road area?
I'm not privy to that, if there is.
Because
no.
I remember years ago,
I
they were
heard it
doing a
as well.
bunch of testing down there, and
Yep.
then it just kind of dropped off the radar screen. I have
Yep.
no idea what happened. Either of you know?
I do not.
Yeah, I
I
don't,
have no
I'm
idea.
not privy to that either, but I did hear it years ago that he
Yeah.
did. And my worry about these funds is, I mean, the town, in my opinion, some of the money was used for good, some of the money was squandered. ARPA funds,
Mm.
it should have gone into infrastructure, and it went into salaries, it went into, charities, it went into places I don't think it should have gone, and I'm sure everybody doesn't feel that way. But that money was intended from the state for infrastructure, and then they changed the rule and it became a free-for-all. And the way they burn through ARPA, I don't wanna see them burn through landfill royalties, because that's the next pot of money that's gonna cure our problems.
So what's your suggestion with the pump station?
Is, basically it's called, it's the continuation of the commercial drive
Right.
build out, and it's to put a water tank in and complete the water lines down Pleasant Street where they were intended.
So that's what you want to use the what?
I think it's a good use for it.
All right, so you want to use it to channel water, to gas
to bring water to people that are right now served by wells, if this thing is going to fall.
Steve, I have a question for you. Now, you say, I know you live up there.
Yeah,
You have a well, so it isn't.
so there's a little bit of a conflict of interest on my part. Yeah,
Is there, I know that, but does the town, considering, especially you and your neighbors, you guys are the closest to that.
Mhm.
landfill.
Yeah.
Does the town test your water, pay for it?
that's my next point I wanted to bring up. A year ago, the town, more than a year ago, the town put an additional well in, I'm assuming by DEP's request, at the north end of the runway. So the Charlton end where they cleared all the trees.
Right.
And when they drilled that well, my water turned brown for 2 weeks. So I know I'm in the same aquifer as that well, and they're testing over there. To date, I don't believe the town has tested any residential wells. We sure tested the heck out of the ones in Charlton, but we seem to not be too concerned with the town of Southbridge residents. Being in the water department, I have an idea how aquifers work. We had 70 homes in Charlton that were showing contamination. So think of an aquifer as an underground river.
Yeah.
Not so much a river. Let's say you spilt a glass of water here on the table. If the table's not level, which way is it going to flow? Downhill, right?
Yeah.
Water flows to where there's a demand or a draw. So we just took 70 homes in Charlton that were getting contamination because the aquifer is flowing that way. And we took away their draw because now they're now fed by public water.
Right.
Now, the draw is on our side. I'm sure the aquifer is pulling our way now, more than it was pulling towards Charlton. Meaning contaminations are gonna come our way.
That seems an objection.
And really, there's been no concern. On top of that, there was a fuel leak at the airport years ago. No one's ever asked for a test from my well for dioxane, for PFAS, for VOCs. And when I brought it to this board more than a year ago, I'd have to check the date, the current chair at the time said, "It's your well, why don't you test it?" Those were some expensive tests.
Yeah, yeah.
And if these are not contaminations I could have put in there, being the closest resident, you'd think the town might want to know what's in the nearest well to the possible source of contamination. So I think a little bit more testing of residential wells in the area, at least the closest couple, might be warranted. But if we went ahead with the water line project, it would really mitigate that risk. It would go away. That money's gonna be spent eventually for an issue from the landfill. What is it gonna be? I don't know. Could it be contamination in the wells? Yes. Could it be something we're not even thinking of? Yep. I don't know what that could be. A landslide? I mean, it's an earthquake. I don't know what that even other risk could be from the landfill. But
Do you have any idea how many houses would actually be served by this water line?
I did a quick count of parcels on Pleasant Street from my house to where the water line ends, which is somewhere near Pleasant Hill Estates,
Yeah.
which is, if everybody's familiar with the White Farmhouse.
That's a huge
Right,
mess.
It's the White Farmhouse right there,
Yeah,
that's
right.
owned by Dave Bernier. He's the last house on the water system. It's probably 20-ish properties, additional properties that would get tied in, but we would extend the use of that main further down Pleasant Street to improve the water pressure.
Right.
But there'd be 20 homes that would be now no longer possibly affected by contamination.
Right.
And again, we did this in Charlton to the tune of multi-million dollars. It sure seems like those people are taken care of and they don't even live here. So, again, I have three kind of conjoined points here. I just wanted to bring it to
Oh,
everybody's
those are
attention.
good points, because I was on the
Your
airport
point,
commission,
yeah.
and it was the first I'd heard about,
There used to be,
Yeah.
there was a fuel leak there years ago.
That was before my time.
Yeah.
Probably, but,
And those are VOCs that no one's ever tested for. And PFAS is coming out of landfills now, they're finding, but no one's ever tested for it. And
oh, that's something to look, we'll look into that for sure.
yeah, so those are just three things I wanted to bring to the board. But more importantly, I think the first thing you could do is maybe make an effort to gain some control over that money if you don't already have it, so that it can't get picked on. That's my concern is, it's just like the ARPA money.
Yep.
$500,000, $500,000. Next thing you know, you've got nothing left.
Yep.
And then a water main job comes up, it's a $3, $4, $5 million job, and the town doesn't have the capacity to pay for that.
Dan, I have a question.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Steve, do you have an idea of the estimate of the cost on the extension project?
I just met with Time Bond on that this week to ask them for a construction cost estimate. I can tell you that the water main in Charlton was 3.5 miles of main, and they connected every home. So it was not just a line to the property, but it was into the building and the plumbing. That was about a $7 million job.
Yep.
We're talking 1 mile of main, 18 homes and not 70. So considerably less.
Right.
The water tank, which needs to be built, would be probably expensive. It'd be probably $2 million just for the water tower.
Where would the water tower actually go?
It's actually supposed to go right, according to the model, the best place for it was right next to the blue building on the town parcel to the downhill side. That doesn't mean where it has to go. I think there was an alternate site picked somewhere on airport property. That was a flexible number. That's just a model prediction. So they
So
can,
2 million plus 7.
no, the 7 million was for the Troutman job.
That's what I'm talking.
I'm gonna get a construction cost estimate. I would imagine it's somewhere right around that $4 million range, which is just about what is in the landfill royalty.
Size tank.
The model called for a 500,000 gallon tank. This was just a model. I think it's too big. It's really gonna depend on how many houses we would tie in down the line and what the fire protection need needs to be. Because if you think of a tank, it's broken up into segments. Residential use, what you need for head pressure, how high the water has to be to give you good pressure below, and then fire protection storage. So
Right.
they're doing that calculation for us now. And they're gonna give us some probable costs based on tanks they built recently. 500,000 gallon tank, a 200,000 gallon tank, a 100,000 gallon tank. So we have an idea what the cost would be. I should have that number within the month.
For comparison, how big is the Mass Ave?
Mass Ave tank is 1.7 million.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's a pre-stressed concrete tank. This would be an elevated tank similar to Denison Hill.
Okay.
That's a standpipe. This would be more of like the bulb of water up top with the legs,
Okay.
so you don't have a lot of wasted volume at the bottom. But those are my points. I mean, if anybody had any more questions that are either citizen-based or technical, I'm happy to stick around. If not, I can get out of here and let you guys move on.
Thank
to
you,
the agenda.
Steve.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Is that something additional, Mr. McKenny?
Have a great night, everybody.
I just wanted
Sure.
to-
You too.
I just wanted to add that during the landfill discussion and when we found there was contamination in Charlton, we also asked at the time that they test Southbridge neighborhoods.
Yeah, I remember that.
They did test Page Hill. We did try to push for Pleasant Street to get tested, but you're right, I don't think that ever got done.
Yeah.
But I do think it's something that the health director can put together, he just needs to find the funding for that.
Of course.
Right.
So,
I agree with what Steve was saying, that funding, those residents that technically could be affected on Pleasant Street, the funding should come out of the landfill royalties
It
as
should.
well,
so
to
it
pay
is-
for that.
The catch
I just
22
wanted
we
to
don't
add,
want to
it
deplete
is
the
something that
landfill
we
road
push.
if we want
Yeah.
to build
We pushed for all
pressure.
we did test.
All right.
That's all. I appreciate everybody's
Okay,
time.
are there any other citizens that wish to speak?
Have a great night.
Thanks, Steve.
Seeing none? Agenda item number 5, blight update.
Yes, blight update. Okay. I have had the town attorney for inspections, Attorney Caprera, review 2 locations that were interested in finding out additional information. Now, the information that we're looking for is ownership, the property records, the mortgage and the deeds. The 2 locations that we are looking at more in depth are 131 Dennison Cross Road and 19 Crestwood Drive. Both are vacant and both have been uninhabited for years and years. And they're very similar properties because they're Cape style single-family dwellings, almost identical in size, in very nice neighborhoods that are just deteriorating. And unfortunately, from the outside, in. And both right now that I have reviewed in the last 2 weeks do have violations that can be noted by me. And a formal order to correct can be issued. They have been issued in the past and just nothing's really was able to bear any fruit, and they still sit idle with no initiative to correct the previous order. So I want, excuse me?
Are they salvageable?
I believe so, yes. In discussions with many in the trade, yes. And I believe anything's salvageable to a degree of how much you want to spend. But I think absolutely they are. But the fact remains as, and I've seen it since I've been here, from the perspective of looking at them from the outside, I do see collectively that the deterioration is continuing from porches, windows, siding, roofs, eaves, everything. So, again, what I want to focus on is to have Attorney Caprera look at, and take a multifaceted approach and look at who is, again, the owner, because the owners that do have these properties have management companies come in and just winterize them and do a quick look over, you know. They've been there recently, the companies, the management companies, previous to the winter to do that.
Okay.
So there is involvement with these properties, but we want to move on with those. In addition, we're pursuing enforcement actions against 14th South Street, property that also warrants the health department's attention due to the fact that it is idle, but there are
The former
Vienna.
Vienna,
Yes.
yeah.
Before my time, but that's what it is.
Yep.
And the accumulation of rubbish and debris just from the outside perspective, again, necessitates, in order to correct that, we have issued in conjunction with fines at this point. So I've issued another one just last week. And unfortunately, the owner/owners are a bit apathetic, and I have not seen any corrective actions instituted, nor payment of the fines, or an appeal process. So, we continue on.
Kevin, would you say something?
Through you to the director, I have a couple of questions. In regards to that 131 and 19, do you know if Attorney Caprera has identified who has ownership of those yet?
No, that's not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. He needs to do a records search. I think in my review of the properties, I just want to make sure that the information with the previous correction orders are still the same, whether they've been sold. So he felt the same way, and that's going to, again, require going to Worcester Deeds,
Yep.
you know, to review that. And there's some convoluted information in there which needs to be handled legally by him with his expertise as well. So definitively, we want to know, you know, simple is where I can send the correction orders.
Yeah, just to
At this
make-
point.
I just called up on the assessor's list, and the owner for 14 South Street is the same one that's having the issues up on the Pleasant Hills.
So yes, that one is, yes. The Dennison Crossroad and Crestwood Drive, it's just kind of throwing a little monkey wrench into the process. And quite honestly, board members, when we did a tour, a visit there, probably in the spring, I felt that something would have probably been done to correct these violations and move forward with the sale of the building. Because I think they're such viable projects and viable dwellings that, it's a shame to see something like them just sit. But alas, that didn't happen. So again, here they are through another winter.
If I can continue.
Sure.
In regards to that 14th South Street,
Yeah.
what's the Board of Health process as far as, we know who the owner of that property is now, and now he is or will be issued orders for conditions. I'm assuming possibly along with 21Ds and fines and all
21
that.
Ds,
What's our process as far as how long do we let that process continue forward before the town can act upon that property? Either take it for non-payment, non-compliance,
Interesting enough, that's something that I'm discussing with Attorney Capera.
Okay.
As we discussed before, it's the cumulative effect of 21Ds which can have that adverse effect on a lien. A municipal lien can be on the taxes. So consequently, that can amount to several thousands of dollars if the fines are unpaid. So the methodology now is to continue, in my style, is to continue to issue the correction orders in conjunction with fines. Those fines, if unpaid or not appealed, may result, probably will, into a municipal charges lien against the taxes.
So
And that right there, for the most part, should be a trigger for the owner to do something. It may not. It may not.
From the issues we've seen with that particular owner, he doesn't care about him.
No, we know what it is.
Well, my point I'm trying to get at is, and it's not just the 14 South Street, I mean, that building's been looking like that for years. All these properties that we have in town is, I'm trying to curb what has been done in the past, and the example I'm gonna use is that Canal Street property. That's been on the Board of Health's radar for 6+ years, and
No,
to this date, we still haven't done anything to it.
That's the brick row.
Brick Road.
Brick Row. Oh,
Sorry, not Canal Street.
Can-
Brick Road.
Brick Row.
It's been on the Board of Health's agenda. I mean, you can go back 6 years and see that same property listed there, and I just don't want, is there some way we can, I don't know how you do it, where you put some sort of time definite, where, you're not paying your fines, you're not doing this, you're not doing ordered conditions, where the town can just turn around and say, hey, forget it, we're taking it for taxes now, to either auction, the thing is to auction off to somebody that will go in and rehab it. I mean, 14 South Street, that's right on Main Street in town.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks
Sure.
like
And
hell.
the
And it
challenges,
still looks nice, too.
Kevin, are certainly a lot to do with the court system now. It just fundamentally, there's such a lag time, and it takes so much time and effort and money to get these through. And not to say that at times it's not warranted, and these certainly can be, and that's another step we can take. Meaning, no one pays attention to the correction orders, no one pays the fines. It can move in that direction into court with Attorney Capera, and certainly it would be a pretty valid case when reviewed by a judge to see all of these correction notices not being, really taken into account, and fines not being paid. So it's a pattern. But that is something that we've talked about, and that traditionally that was a step that was done by boards of health, a lot, and it's really not put on the side, but there's better avenues to take, because I've seen in the last 5 years with the Department of Health and other municipalities and working with the court systems that it becomes more difficult and time consuming, and the outcome is not as good as you really want, years go by. Let's just say that, in certain cases.
I thought that if the taxes are more than half the value of the house at present day, you can take over a house. Is that true? In other words, if a house is worth $100,000 and you know, if there's like 50,000, $100 or whatever, more than half the value of the house you can legally take that house as your own.
That may be.
Maybe
I
that's
could-
why maybe Canal
I-
Street sat around for, I mean,
Maybe.
Brick Row, but that's what I always thought. And that's why people let these houses, maybe they, you know, they can't pay the taxes or whatever, and they just let it go, and it gets to a point where you can't pay it because it's so high. And even if you make an agreement to pay, it'll take you years and years to pay it off before you could even do anything to the house.
That may very well be. Again, I'm not
Well,
an
I'm asking
attorney.
you,
I can't legally say that that's the case. I've heard things like that.
Well,
But, you know,
I'll look into that myself. How's the town take ownership of a house? 'Cause that's a question to ask. We're sitting here all the time and asking about these houses that the town can't do anything about. I'll just ask the town manager. Or-
that is certainly
hold
a
on.
town many town council.
We have someone in the audience that can answer
Attorney,
that
just,
question.
you know.
I don't have an answer to your question, but the problem is, what does the town do with the building? That's the problem.
The town would have to pay to take it down, that's the problem that
Right, so
the
we-
town managers
And
discussed as far as
a lot
Brick
of
Road.
people abandon their houses because they know that. They don't wanna deal with it, but the town can't do anything
Sure.
either, so that's the dilemma.
It's a difficulty.
We don't need another property to take care of when we have trouble
Right.
taking care of our own.
Well, but if you could repossess it, you could at least knock it down, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
This
You
way, to
can,
make it unsafe, we don't wanna say, hey, let's fix up a house, we just got a deal on it. I'm just saying, we can make it safer or better, or board it up.
I can tell you, the town manager,
Or maybe
Jack
even
Jovan,
sell it.
is definitely, has definitely looked at this and is still pursuing this, and is in discussions with me and Attorney Caprera, Building Inspector Mike Julian, and it's this just really a formulation of a good game plan, a sound game plan moving forward with all of these properties. And, you know, I don't think that the Board of Health, you know, should be disengaged at any level. They should be involved, and certainly things should be transparent where the process is clarified, you know, and we should stay abreast. But right now, it's, what I say, it's in a preliminary stage where we all have the same hopes, and we all have the hope that a process can be fully instituted, that all departments, town manager, town council could adapt, and that is, again, a viable approach to getting a solution to this blight problem. And as I stated before, moving into court and other measures like that have become just more difficult in the years. And at times, they're exhausting, and you get nowhere. And truthfully, here, in recognition of some of the files, these blight properties and others, they can attest to that, because my review of the files and Attorney Caprera's have really shown that. You know, they've gone through court, they've gone through measures, they've gone through orders to correct. And unfortunately, here they sit. So those processes that worked before just are not working anymore.
Correct, and that's what I was trying to say, we should figure out a way where we can get back on the right track and start
Agreed.
taking care of these properties that, I mean, it's just, it's
And
bringing
all,
down the neighborhoods
and what I'm
bringing
saying,
down
efforts
property.
are underway. There's a lot to it, and again, to have a definitive, good, solid approach takes time, but we've got the right people to do it. You know, as I shared with some of the tactics that I have, mainly using the 21Ds, the orders to correct and things like that, I've seen those become successful. And patience is the virtue with them. They're not immediate, like maybe other measures that can be taken. just want to cover all ground, want to cover things all legally, that things are done right. And the town manager has emphatically said that. And and we are following his directive.
Right.
Okay?
I'm curious, have you talked to the redevelopment authority? That, I don't know if that would, I don't remember if 14 South Street is in their area or not, but they might be able to, if it is, they might be able to help with that. Because they have a lot of legal authority regarding property in their area of, in their geographical area, so.
I have not, to be honest. It's just what,
I can't remember if it is.
what I've assimilated is just something similar to the other properties.
Right.
A dwelling that just sits, and it's been for a while, it's degraded, there's violations, so on. It's an eyesore, it's blight.
Yeah, because they've been doing
And
related stuff, so.
You know, I guess there's been some movement with windows and interior, but not enough.
Just reminding myself, and I think it's good for all of us to keep in mind, that there are reasons why it's not easy for a municipality or a government entity to take property.
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We can be frustrated about the condition of some of these, but, you know, there's a process for a reason, and we have an issue already on the upper end of South Street where the town mishandled that property,
Yep.
and now we're stuck with it.
That's true.
So, you know, I agree with what Dan and the town manager and Attorney Caprera are doing in a joint
agree.
effort
I
to do
agree.
this the right way, so we don't have to sit on a property that we can do nothing with and have no value.
Right, I get that.
And so,
Totally.
I appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Keep us posted. I think, you know, I don't want to waste Jack or Attorney Caprera's time in providing us updates that you are capable of providing us, so,
Right.
thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Here's just a thought. We know this property owner is active in Southbridge. We know that for a fact. Why can't the board invite him to the meeting next month to find out what his intent is on the building?
We can do that.
That's a great
That would be a great idea.
Try to get him
We
here.
can attempt, absolutely.
Can we legally?
No, that's a good idea.
I'll make that
We can
motion.
invite him. It's not a
Invite,
subpoena.
right.
It's an invitation.
To sit in on a meeting
And see if he shows up or not.
I'll make that motion.
I'll say.
I second.
Yeah.
And I'll send the
Wait, I gotta
invite.
write it up.
Would you like me to write it up?
We'll bring the invite next.
Oh, I didn't know you started.
Sounds good.
That's the gentleman that probably.
It's an attempt to invite him anyway.
He owns that.
I'm gonna create one. on
My
my
Invite him
second.
over to sit in.
Jasmine.
We do whatever we want.
I'm not gonna tell him who I am. You're not gonna tell him who you are. We're just gonna
Not
say, hey,
gonna
I'd like
tell
to
him.
establish,
What's going on?
you know, the new.
What is
He's
this?
now, we can start issuing them 20
Yes.
days.
All right, so there's a motion on the table to invite the property owner of 14 South Street to the next Board of Health meeting. Second by, the motion was by Nick, second Jasmine, roll call. Dan Grabowski?
Yes.
Gus Steves?
Yes.
Kevin Spillane?
Yes.
Jasmine?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll write it up and I'll send it to the chair for a signature.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
suggestion. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 6, old business. Review and discuss Board of Health fee schedule.
Oh, yes. Let me,
Oh, yes.
oh, yes. I've been giving this some thought, and which I did send an email.
Yeah.
You know. I have those printed out right here for your reviews. So if you'd like to pass those along, thank you.
I forget now what you're gonna say, too. We're both on the same
And
page on this one.
in conjunction with this, board members, I talked to Anna Smith, landfill monitor, and she would ask this topic to be placed also for discussion. It's pertaining to the fee schedule, but more or less the replacement of the recycling containers and the waste containers. So if you grab a copy of that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So in all, as I stated previously,
Maybe first to go off the table.
Whose is it? Mine?
Just leave it.
Thank you.
I'm emphasizing these are my suggestions. after review of the current fee schedule. And not only am I looking at just costs, I'm looking at permits that represent the health department codes, regulations more thoroughly and more in a transparent manner. So I've looked at food, tobacco, septic, and housing as of yet. And more or less, I have suggestions aligned with food that is more involved than the others. The others just have a couple suggestions. As you can see, it really just want it simplified and more coherent. And currently, as I said, the fee structure and really the nomenclature used in the fee structure, to me, needs to be redone. So
Oh, yeah.
again, it's more clear to not only health department, but also the permittee. Okay. Now, just to add, if you compare, I discussed this with Maritza, and we looked at some of the fee structures or the fee amounts, and I also did some research with other municipalities. Okay, and tried to make it fair and reasonable, the costs that I think should be changed.
Are you looking for a motion on accepting this? You guys?
Following your review and approval, yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, I defer to the professionals. If you feel that your department can stand behind these fee schedules, then I'll make a motion to accept your suggestions.
I'll second it for discussion.
If I could clarify here a little bit. You mentioned you have, how are you changing the definition for food service establishment and retail food establishment, first of all?
Well, what we're doing is eliminating catering, grocery, market, convenience stores, which all fall into a permit which is deemed a food service establishment. Or not.
That would be
So this
great.
one is just broken down as I see, grocery store, market, convenience store. To me, that's convoluted,
Okay, so you're.
okay? That's not terminology that
That's a difference, yeah.
it's used currently in Upper County. Not to say it's right or wrong, but it could be, all of it could be falling under the food service establishment. So food service is much different than retail. Retail, let's just look at packaged food,
Okay.
okay? With no service.
So that would include the convenience stores and those things.
Yes. And many, for instance, a supermarket would hold two,
Yes.
okay? They have prepared foods, they're serving foods, and
Retail.
retail, where they have packaged. So it's a combination,
Okay.
okay? Some can be, some are antiquated, the milk, the frozen dessert still goes, the milk and cream, that's an old one, oldie but a goodie. That's the board's decision if they wanna still use that. Right, because again, all of these practices and procedures would fall under really the purview of the permit anyhow. And so, break it down, food service and retail, I think that would be a step. And as you can see, food service is broken down by seats,
Yeah.
okay?
That makes sense.
And just to make it fair for everyone. And then we have retail food establishments that start with square footage. and then, really,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
How do we handle outdoor retail food establishments?
Outdoor? Well, outdoor
mobile.
is a temporary, well, that one is still on here. That is a permit that still is required to be on the agenda.
Okay.
A mobile food unit yes, it's a food service, but it's a different type of permit.
Right.
As well as an outdoor event, which is a temporary food service permit. Okay.
Understood.
So we want to hold on to those. As you can see here, that the costs, I think, are fair and in line with what they should be. I just wanted to point out, with temporary food permits or religious entities, whether the board would see it fit to waive the costs, reduce the costs. Just want to bring that to the table.
That was one of the questions I was gonna ask earlier.
Yeah.
The religious organizations, I say we just waive that entire cost.
Yeah, we want it.
Well, I mean,
before we
it
talk about
just,
it.
Can we get a definition of what you're considering religious organization,
churches.
food service?
Food service, yes.
What-
Religious,
what do you-
religious organizations they have a commercial kitchen.
Yep.
Now, to the extent the food production and the output and the service is nowhere near a fully operational kitchen,
So
okay?
my question,
Or a restaurant.
so my question on that would, I was the one who brought this up at the last time it
Right,
came up, the last
exactly,
two times.
exactly.
And I thought of it more since then. Is this, on a religious organization on the food side, is this still something that Lawrence has to go in and inspect?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
So on that, I would make a motion that we charge at least $25 to somewhat recoup her time that she's gotta go to inspect.
Yep.
I mean, I think they still should have to pay something, at least to cover her labor end of it, where it shouldn't be a burden.
Her time and effort,
technically.
you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it shouldn't, and also there's still, office work, filing
Sure.
and stuff.
That
I mean,
sounds
if we
fair.
can recoup
That's
something
fair.
just to justify the means of that, I didn't agree previously with it being at 200, but I think we should still get something, not an astronomical dollar amount, but something just to cover the labor end of it.
That sounds
on the
fair.
town side.
Okay, if I may find just a kind of a bit of a
Yeah,
devil's
I'll second
advocate
it.
thing for this one, I'm inclined to agree with you. However, I would like to point out that the way we budget the jobs, not necessarily, well, yours and everyone else's, these things are part of the job. They're expected, the public expects people to be doing these things as part of their job.
Yes, I
Public
understand
meaning
that.
taxpayer supported though, there's an
Exactly.
issue I have.
Huh?
That's the issue that I have, but with,
So-
I don't have an issue with nonprofits, but, when we continue to waive fees for nonprofits who aren't paying taxes,
Right,
Yeah, but these
they have, nonprofits still have operating budgets.
they do, I totally agree.
Exactly.
And on the flip side, we're also charging people who are paying their taxes extra fees to do things that they would normally expect their town government to do. That's always been a bit of an issue. I can kind of understand why we do that, but it's kind of become a bit murky because it's now essentially become part of the town budget for fees to pay for things that should be paid in the budget. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
And that the jobs we kind of expect the jobs to get done.
Without
because they're
certain
part of the job.
compensation,
Well,
yeah.
they're still getting paid for their job. I mean, we wouldn't expect you to do it for free at all. I'm not saying that. But because, you're a town employee, you should get paid.
In other words, that's in the price anyway.
That's exactly.
So,
That's
so
kind of what I'm
do
thinking.
we want to,
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
drop it to
because the
zero or
money's
maybe-
not going to Maritza directly,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
So it's part of the
It's
job,
for the
job
post.
title.
Yeah, right.
Essentially, yeah, part of the job description. So,
Would you
I just
have
wanna
any
bring that up.
objection to considering putting religious and nonprofit together into one schedule of a waived fee? Just to remove any debate over what's a religious organization, what's a nonprofit.
Because
Well,
churches
they
are
nonprofits,
nonprofits, right?
nonprofits, they're supposed to.
I agree, I'll agree with that, to put them into one title. So as to not to create confusion,
Sure.
because the more titles are out there, the more
If a
conversation.
nonprofit, then they'll get recognized as a 501c3.
Right, they'll automatically know it's a church. They'll probably think it's a church anyway, right?
Well, you have to have a 501c3,
Right,
you
and
know,
that's what we're gonna
licensure.
ask for.
Yeah.
Do we actually require them to provide the
That's
documentation that they
the
have?
next thing, do they
We
have
will.
proof they're not?
We
Yes.
Okay.
If we get
That's easy for them to provide.
Yes.
And that's, if that's what you're requesting, it could be in alignment with the waived nonprofit.
I'll
temporary food.
modify my motion to.
All right, good, because I was gonna say, we have a lot of things out there, let's at least vote on, we have a couple of motions out already,
So
out there, so let's take care of them right now and vote on them.
Do you want to turn down my motion, or do you want to amend it? Either way.
Which one?
The motion to accept this as written, or do you want me to amend that motion, retract it? How do you
Why,
wanna-
why don't we?
I think you just
Shoot-
make the
shoot it
motion.
down.
Why don't we,
You tell us what you want,
do
we'll vote.
individual, well, for individual items?
Well, that's
Because
what
we're
we're
gonna be
doing.
changing things going, because you
Yeah,
have one
see.
that's taken.
Why don't we go through the
end?
entire fee
Yeah.
schedule? I'll make the changes and then we can
Come
vote on
back
it
to it.
at next
As a whole.
meeting.
Alright, that's fine,
That
make
makes
the
sense.
adjustments now, and then take a look at it as once completed.
Sounds
Right,
great.
Yeah.
that works.
That sounds good.
So Nick, yours was to add
So
religious and
religious
nonprofit
and
together?
nonprofit.
all
Yeah, put the-
together.
Consolidate
At
that.
a,
Keep
at
it
a
as-
zero fee?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
With proof of
Combine the two-
501c3
correct.
rights.
Combine the two
yeah. With, I
into
agree
one,
with,
with a zero fee.
Yep.
yeah, do we have to add that language with proof of 501?
Yeah, we're gonna add that.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the other towns I looked at do that too, so.
But they still have to require a permit though. They still have to
Right.
follow the inspection.
Yeah.
side of it.
And, Kevin, did you have a motion too earlier?
We just went on his.
That was that one?
That we just,
Okay, we're caught up.
Nick clarified all the motion.
Jasmine.
Well, somebody did.
Jasmine and Maritza took care of it.
I was curious if I can throw a quick question at Dan here, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious, why did we have food pantry in the list and why did you take it out?
Again, food pantry is going to, by
mean,
definition
you're
of code,
nonprofit.
fall into one or the other. And it's usually the retail food establishment. Now, a food pantry
Not so.
a retail, is again, by definition of the food
Retail.
code, the regulations of retail food establishment,
It is,
okay? They, correct me if I'm wrong, they could also fall in the nonprofit.
Yes,
all right,
yeah.
yeah.
They should.
Which they do.
Yeah.
So,
Which it's waived.
just wait. Yeah. That'll take precedence
Yeah.
and I'll take care of that. So, yes, that's what I was getting at, is the removal of this extraneous terminology,
Right.
And
okay?
Absolutely.
To make it more clear. And you can see on the back side, I've also included septic systems, which I just felt we should get to the level that's more acceptable and found in other municipalities, surrounding municipalities. So that's an increase.
But that's the only one you're interested in increasing, is that particular one?
Right, and that's a consolidation because you always have a plan review for a disposal works construction permit.
Right.
One without the other,
Doesn't work.
one
Yeah,
that threw me for a,
Yeah.
Because I noticed when I was looking at them, that our evaluations for especially going over 4 hours, is actually lower than the other towns that I looked at.
yeah?
Webster, I looked at specifically at Webster, Spencer, and Leicester. Because Webster and Spencer, of course, is sort of similar to us economically in a variety of ways. And in Webster, see, ours is $200 plus $50 per hour because of 4 hours, with additional. And in Webster, it's, if I'm comparing them properly, it's $350 at least for perk testing.
Mhm.
I think they're not exactly the same phrasing, so I'm not quite sure I'm comparing them apples to oranges here. In Spencer, it's the initial initial evaluation is $340, and for repairs is $225. And for Leicester, it's $325.
So we're still below.
Yep.
I remember seeing those numbers, I just wanted to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And with plan review, I noticed that most of the other, you're eliminating it, ours is 100. Webster's is 300. Spencer's is actually combined, the grand total ends up being 510. And last year runs from 175 to 350, depending on the size of the project, basically.
So if board members could give that some thought, again, what I just wanted to emphasize is that we're been below that level. Okay, and then with the housing, even the MRVPs, below, my suggestion is to move it up to $100. What I'd really like to see all around is these reinspection fees. And if you look at that, it's gonna be a segue into the, to an announcement that I'll make from the director's announcement portion there.
So when do the reinspection fees come up?
Reinspection, so just think of this, everyone is, in every public health front is entitled to one reinspection.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if compliance is not achieved and it requires another visit by the inspectional team to determine that corrections have been instituted, that is going to be a second
Right, okay.
inspection. And those can continue, subsequent ones, really, you know, on the discretion of the inspector.
Sure.
If they feel that some corrective actions have been initiated and implemented, but others haven't, instead of moving in other processes, like bringing the individual in front of the board, et cetera, it could be another inspection. But that also should be charged for at the time that the
It's
inspectional team
almost like a
and
fine. Okay.
letting them know that we're serious.
I'm
Yeah.
curious about this one, because would that apply to non-housing issues? Because you're listing it under housing.
Well,
What if you're
it
doing a
can apply.
situation where she finds violations at a restaurant or something?
Yes, that's what it is. It is. So we have,
But it applies to everything.
this one, the reinspection fee, put it under there. It could be for everything.
Okay, because it's listed under
Yep,
housing, so I
yep.
just wanted to clarify. Okay.
I'd like to amend my motion to table this until our next meeting to consider the changes that we've discussed and proposed to Dan and Maritza.
Before you do, I just want to, do you plan on bringing any other changes forward?
No, not at this point. Again, I was waiting for our discussion to take place.
Okay.
And as I said, I am more than open to your suggestions for getting a really sound fee schedule we can use for years and that we'd all be happy with.
It looks like from the towns that I looked at, our fees are more or less along the lines of most of them, so, yeah, okay.
But just do look at that statement from Anna. As you can see in our fee schedule, what we charge currently for the trash and recycled toters, $50 to $60. It's right here on the fee
Right on the
schedule,
front page,
halfway
yeah.
down. Those are going to increase to $65, and I do believe there's going to be a charge from Casella. That's the charge for the toters, correct me if I'm
Correct.
wrong, but is there gonna be a delivery fee
Yes,
Yes.
and a repair fee.
and a repair fee? So that is gonna be much more than what we are charging right now.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay. Gus. Jasmine Canones,
Yes.
Gus Steves,
Yes.
Kevin Spleen,
Yes.
Ryan Grabowski.
Yes.
Nick Vido.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Moving on to agenda item number 7, new business. That was old business review, Board of Health fee schedule. 7 is new business. If you have anything.
A new business, okay, I was gonna place this under the director announcements, but I have another one for that I'd like to discuss with the board, but, if we're on the subject matter of fees, what I'm currently in the process of constructing is again, a process in which the building department permits will require a sign off from the health department before issuance. And traditionally, the only sign-offs really that came our way is for septics and wells. okay? But I'd like to integrate a process in which the building permits can be withheld if an entity or an individual owes for any fees for the Board of Health or any fines. This is similar to where we were just talking about blight, 14
Right,
South
right.
Street. I use that as an example. It's another tactic in which if someone, again, is apathetic, uninterested in pursuing corrective actions, and doesn't
No problem with that.
really want to pay permits,
No problem with that.
now they're going to run into an obstacle when trying to obtain a permit, not just for that property, any property that they own in town.
No problem with
It's
that.
like a license renewal. You can't get your license renewed unless you pay the parking
Correct,
tickets,
correct.
right?
Yep.
So
That-
I've
That's a good
had,
idea.
yes, so I've had Attorney Caprera provide an opinion on the matter, and it is absolutely feasible, and everything, all the pieces, I'll just say, have already been installed
Mhm.
here in town.
Okay.
And in reference to the bylaws and regulations, it's completely legally feasible to enact something like this.
Is there any way it can be used, I'm assuming that because this is in your bill, it would only apply to the stuff that we address. But would it be expandable to say, if there's issues going on in violations for other boards, like say, I don't know, a
Yes,
building,
yes, yes.
planning board
It-
permits and conservation issues or whatever?
So,
would that be legal?
That I've had, again, this just happened this week with Attorney Caprera, but I can give you just a little bit narrative that his opinion, legal opinion on the matter, states that the town already has in place a legal format for withholding these permits and licenses, which can be denied or revoked if charges, fees are not paid. And it's just not in alignment with the Board of Health building. Other departments can
Oh, okay.
and are able to do this. Certainly to have this installed will require the approval of the town manager. It's just a business I'd like to discuss with the board.
Would that have to go through the council?
That, I do not know. Again, Attorney Caprera emphasizes that, again, that there's already a pathway there,
Okay.
okay? It's just pulling the trigger and getting approval.
Have
What I
have
mean,
you,
but it goes
talked to
through
any
town
towns that do that, and what kind of success have they had?
Excuse me?
Have you talked to any towns that do that, and what kind of success have they had?
Well, I mean, I have not, this was a brainstorming session on my part, as I sat back, and, I'm sure they have.
It'd be nice to see how they
You know,
worked it up to date.
I am just theorizing that this could have a positive impact
Good,
on the blight
absolutely.
and other aspects that we all work hard on and try to get compliance with.
I agree.
Um, So, that's something that I also talked with the building department, namely Mike Julian, and he's in full support and agreement of this process. But again, at this stage, we will need approval from Jack Joban, the
Right.
town manager, should we want to pursue this.
So as far as the building permits getting health sign off, so for example, I was down at the planning board last night, they were doing planning zoning joint meeting, and they were talking about a whole bunch of legal issues. And a lot of the projects that they were talking about, they had to do it very vaguely by definition, but they were frequently talking about the AO projects. You know, you read between the lines, that's what they're, a lot of cases, that's what they're referring to. And I was curious about how that would tie into like some of the concerns that I've raised about that project.
Well, again, everything can be tied in based on, look at the individual department or board. Okay? So what we're doing is we're, the whole basis is trying to have the owners take responsibility,
Yeah, totally.
you know?
Well, in this case, I'm referring to something that we're trying, that I'm concerned about trying to prevent a problem. not necessarily one that is currently a problem.
Okay, preventing.
In
I
fact,
think
in
it can
many
be all
cases-
integrated. There's flexibility in this, you know? And it's something that if you have an idea or you want to share this idea, we can build on it. And certainly from the Board of Health's perspective, we could speak with Attorney Capera.
Mike was there too, by the way.
Yeah. So, but that, again, that's a whole separate thing. I'm thinking that there's a will, there's a way. It
Yeah.
could be.
Okay.
So. Yes, that's what I just wanted to share with everyone. And it, you know, in no circumstance, I just want to say, if there's an emergency situation and it requires an immediate building permit for something, a roof collapse or something, that would really require the approval of the town manager for the sign off to do an emergency process like that and not have the fees paid at that time.
Mhm.
But again, that's not in my realm.
Right,
Okay?
Moving on to agenda item 8, Chairman's announcements. I just have one. I'd like to thank the DPW for a great job this weekend, shoveling the snow. That's if anyone is watching. And that's it. And agenda item number 9, Health Director's announcement.
Yes, well, collectively, we're in preparation for the curbside solid waste program, and the duties of the health department, with the rollout procedure.
Yeah.
So, we are looking at new and existing employees, different aspects, enforcement actions and procedures, outreach and education. It is something that right now, we're at the final stage where we've got to put together everything together. Put together everything in place. So we only got a couple more months to do it,
Yeah.
give or take. And I think the health department is very confident in assuming the responsibilities. And these responsibilities are outlined in agreement between the town and Casella. And the approach there is to make sure we have an appropriate team to handle our responsibilities of enforcement and other measures. And in the next month or so, perhaps before our next meeting, I could give you more information.
Okay, great. Okay, agenda item number 10, board members' announcements. Kevin?
Just a couple things. For you to the director, I don't know if you have an answer. Do we know what's going on with the 2 properties on Snow Street? I know the kids have been breaking into it and stuff.
Those are the properties that are adjacent to the site for,
It's supposed to be demolished.
that are already demolished for the fire station.
Oh,
I just know they are boarded up and awaiting for demolition. I don't know the status as of yet. I know there's been some concerns with items still being in the yard areas. Some items tidied up. Even I was out there, took the toters, things like that. But I know some residents were concerned that they just sit idle in that
Right.
ship.
That's why I
And,
brought it up.
you know, so, from our end, we were just, you know, it would be, from a health department side, that we're looking at, it's just gonna be temporary until they're demolished, but still they are there. I can't elaborate on what else is going on with them and what the time frame is and when. You know, security is paramount, so we have, and I have personally taken a ride by to make sure there's no one breaking in or any evidence of that or any illegal dumping. So I can say with that that's a good thing.
Yep.
But they are an eyesore, in the state they are, and people do want to know what the status is. they may remain for more months.
Okay.
I mean, last I heard from the fire station building committee, they want to bring them down soon. But obviously, their whole funding system is kind of messed up right now. So the project as a whole is on hold, but they intend to take those down regardless of whether the project goes forward, so.
That's the last update I received, was that they will be taken down regardless of the funding
That's what I
issue.
thought, yeah.
Good to know.
Just don't know what the time frame is.
The next thing I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, I know the town manager, Attorney Caprera are working on that Mill Street building.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has seen that large section that has fallen in the backside.
On the Abacus side? On the other side?
So when you look at the building that runs parallel at Mill Street,
Right.
if you go down the driveway on the side, they
Right.
have the back section that jogs out.
Yep.
If you're on Hamilton Street and you look above the peak of that back section, you'll see a good 5 by 8 foot section on the top floor between the windows there.
Interesting. Perhaps another visit is
And I
warranted
know,
by.
I know legal wise that, you know, with it being in bankruptcy and stuff like that, I'm just bringing it to the attention that a large
Certainly.
section of facade has fallen
And
down.
that's what I mean by another visit, a concerted group visit,
Yeah.
like we did before, which,
Observation.
we had Board of Health members, town council members.
You know, I don't know what we can do other than, you know, we fenced it off to, but it's.
I will, I
I
will,
know legal wise, they're trying to do what they can as far as the town with all of that bankruptcy stuff, but I just want to bring to somebody's attention that
Yeah.
we know that building is,
okay, you know, and fair enough, I can forward those concerns to Mike Julian, building inspector. I can't specifically say that he's aware of it, I'm
No,
sure he
that's why I
is,
just wanted to
but
bring it.
he
I
goes out
happened
there
to
and
notice it.
he knows the building pretty well, and the points where it is falling down and degraded, so, I will bring that to his attention.
And then my last thing is, Dan, have you, we've been talking about it for a few months now, about that list.
Yes.
You said that we'll get through the holidays.
In-
Have you
in-
come up with a property, couple properties we might be able to look at to try to get on the horizon to try to,
Well, I've been thinking about that, so it's definitely, I have not put it on the back burner. It's just, I've been putting together a good timeframe which we could gather everybody up, you know. And I have some thoughts. And the properties, one that I discussed right now, and we're all aware, is South Street. That is a property that I don't believe we had a group visit at previously. Correct. Or anybody else. So that should be brought to people's attention. And in conjunction, I was thinking about taking another visit to the Mill Street. I think that's needed as well. And so,
Do we want to pick a date to do that?
well, that's something that I'd like to discuss. I mean, it's after the holidays, and what I said is that's when we'll really get efforts together. It have to be before dark, so
Yeah.
we're looking 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We can send something out
Okay.
and just an invite, see
Wow.
if the interest is there. Yeah.
I'll show you a picture of it.
Oh, wow.
So let's say like this, let's do Mill Street, 14 South Street, I would like the board members to take a look, if we do have time, on the other two properties, the Crestwood Drive and the Dennison Cross Road.
That works.
Still fair.
Those are really on my radar right now.
Yep.
We could start at my office and work my way down. Our way down.
Well, Kevin, I mean, I like it. Kevin has been talking about it, and these visits have worked, and people have talked about it. It's the concerns and the information and everything has really resonated with all individuals involved,
Right.
and there's movement. So let's do that.
Who do we get, like, permission from, like you take us there? like it's okay, like,
Well-
or you have to set it up with someone, or?
We stand in the road.
No,
We're standing in a public way.
Yeah, like when you invited us
um,
before to like
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
over
we're going
there.
to walk
Yeah.
all around
By
right
West-
there, the parking
by
lot
Westfield
there,
Dam
you
when we
know.
went over the summer.
Yeah.
That's
South
no
Street.
problem.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, most of the problems you see, you can see from the street.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just identifying it, because again, coming into town, I've talked to many people affiliated with the government here and residents, and I pointed out some of these addresses, and many haven't seen them in a long, long time, or didn't know about them.
Yeah.
So it's always healthy just to see
Refresh our
the two
memory.
eyes, and
I think it's a great tool. yeah.
where we can all talk and.
To have this posted, at these visits posted as public meetings as well, so that, and the public welcome to, attend these. I think it's a great tool. Nobody in good conscience wants their property posted for a public visit by,
No,
any board for these reasons, so I think
No.
it's a good,
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
We'll send out an invite, and
So you're thinking sometime next week or?
I don't know. I don't think
Monday's a holiday.
Monday's a holiday. That's
I'm
right.
on
It's
a-
going to be a short week.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in New Orleans next week.
Well, since we're talking about it, what you have any ideas? What is a
You wanna
good
do
week?
Thursday at 1 o'clock?
I'm gonna be in New Orleans next week.
Oh, you're-
But,
Absent as well.
Yeah.
Traveling for
Traveling?
work as well.
Okay.
yeah. So, but the week after,
The
No,
following
wait,
week?
not New Orleans, but.
sorry. But yeah,
Following
but the following week, I'm sorry, I already, like, I already had it.
Two weeks from today?
Thursday, the 25th?
The 25th, yeah.
Thursday's a good day.
Thursdays? Thursdays are usually, yeah.
Thursdays and Fridays, actually Thursdays, I have no patience on Thursdays.
Yeah, we'd have to hit it,
Thursday, the
1
25th
o'clock
at
to
1.
go. 1 o'clock?
What time?
1 o'clock.
Which property are we gonna meet at?
Those two, the Mill Street and the South Street, right?
How about,
We know which one.
how about we all
South
meet,
Street. South Street, and then we work
Which
our
one
way
was
to
it?
Get as
Mill.
many done as possible.
and then the other properties, Crestwood and up there, are behind,
We'll go south,
right?
South Mill,
That
Crest,
seems more efficient.
Dennison.
South, we'll meet at.
South Street?
So South Street,
South Street it is.
1 o'clock on the 20th.
I'm at, Catholic Charities, which I could pick you up if you want.
Sounds good.
Gus, you have
That's
anything
right
to
here.
remember for?
That's what I'm saying, I could just like, meet me outside, pick you up.
Send me a text. I'm
Yeah, I will.
outside.
Like, I'm
I
outside.
thought I'd let people know that the EPA has released new lead and water rules, and they are accepting comments until, I think it's the end of the month, February 5th. So if you have any interest in it, I can send you the email. Because obviously, I don't know how much of an issue we have with lead water pipes in our town, but a lot of the towns do still have old ones, so I just thought I'd mention that. And that's all I have.
Anything to add, member forum? Jasmine?
What?
Okay, moving on. Nick, do you have anything to add?
Yes.
Okay, agenda, item 11, schedule next meeting, February 8th, Thursday, 6 PM, second Tuesday.
Is that Thursday?
Thursday. Is that, we want to hit
Yes, Thursday.
Thursday?
February
You
8th.
said Tuesday.
Why do I always do that?
I don't know.
Tuesday, Thursday.
And I have it written down too.
No, that's good.
Spelled correctly. Okay, agenda item number 12,
Motion adjourned.
adjournment, second.
Litigated.